I can remember my father was called by the director, and that was a term that he coined. I feel like he was the director, he was the principal of the school. It was an individual that was running my father's assisted living personal care. It was called personal care at the time. Called and said, "We have an issue with a resident. We have, there was something that was stolen." And, my father was, very upset about it and said, "Well, who was responsible? Which employee was responsible? Do we know?" And the director said, "Charles, it was not an employee. It was a third party care provider, we think, because that was the only person that was in that room." And so, we walked down to the community and we pull up this paper sign-in book, and no one had used it, right? And nobody had filled it out for a couple of days. And so we lost that opportunity to create a barrier of entry and to create really something that adds safety to a building, right? Senior living in many cases is no different from a vulnerability perspective than maybe a daycare, right? With children, with young children, because if you've got a community that has a high acuity level and they've got a number of residents with Alzheimer's, they're not going to remember who came in the room, right? They're not going to remember who came to see them, right? And so that's our job, as operators to help there. And so, you wouldn't be able to, if you've been in an elementary school, you can't just walk into an elementary school and go wandering around, right? I still think in some senior living that might be, you might be able to do that, right? So it's treated a little different. And so, that was one story that to me at a young age, I felt I wanted to change, right? I wanted to add that layer of security, one of the many components to security, to help operators, but ultimately keep residents and staff safer, to know who's in the building, because there's a lot that goes on in senior living, as we all know. So that was a story that sort of outlines kind of the thing that stuck out to me, right, is what's that mission, and give me a real world example. And that's a real world example to me. And I think others have probably dealt with that in the past.